Well, a long story short, I had a double major in management and psychology in college. I've always been interested in human behavior. Most of my career, I worked for a career and leadership development organization called Inroads. Last 13 of those years, I was the CEO during my tenure, and in that organization, we helped young people who were interns majoring in business and engineering. We trained them to become leaders in corporate America. And so I wanted to leverage that experience that I had working with the interns of major companies over the years into my next career. And when I retired from Inroads, I looked around and looked at what opportunities would provide me the chance to work with people who wanted to self-actualize from a career perspective. And so I started my executive coaching firm 2 weeks after I left Inroads, and I've been doing it for the last 11 years.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect candidate is someone who wants to get better, simply put. They're transparent, they're open to improvement, they're open to listening. So really, it's kind of simple. Somebody who's just open to being better, somebody who's open to listening, somebody who's open to feedback, which is incredibly critical in this business, because if you're not open to feedback, it's just not going to work. My philosophy is I would call it options management. And what I mean by that is when I sit down with my clients, I don't want to tell them what to do. I believe in them growing and finding solutions on their own. So what we do oftentimes, if there's a particular situation that the person is facing or dealing with, we'll sit down and do a kind of if-then analysis. Okay, if you do this, what might be the ramifications of your actions? What might be the impact of your actions? If you look at a second option and play that out, same kind of thing. What might happen if you do that? What's the good that might come out of it? What's the bad that might come out of it? And we might even go to a third option. But ultimately, we want the person to decide for themselves which option they want to take. Not me saying you should do X or you should do Y, but what do you think you should do after you've looked at the different options available?
Perfect.
Well, typically what happens out of this process is after I do an assessment, usually 360 interviews, where I interview 7 to 9 people around the person, the boss, 3 or 4 peers, 3 or 4 direct reports, ask about strengths, weaknesses, things they need to improve on, that kind of thing. We work collaboratively to develop a development plan, which is really helping them to focus on no more than 2 or 3 areas. And so that development plan is something that we work on together over a period of time. And so the real evaluation of the success of the engagement is, if you look at the development plan and what was outlined for them to work on, to what extent did they really make progress, significant progress on those 2 or 3 things. Well, along the way, I typically will check in with the person's manager to get a sense of how they're doing relative to their development plan. Also, there's a part in that that says that the client needs to identify 2 or 3 accountability partners, people who are aware of what they're working on. And so it's important for that person every 6 to 8 weeks to check in with those people to say, look, I'm working on these 2 or 3 things. How do you think I'm doing? And what do you think I need to do to even get better in these areas? So you have several check-in points along the way. Yeah, one thing I think that's important to note about coaching now is, 15 years ago, people hired a coach to quote unquote fix somebody. Coaching is not there to fix. Coaching is there to help people get to the next level.